Jai Shri Ram. Welcome. We continue from last time of the introduction video, and in this video I will complete the introduction and introduce you to the context, set the stage, and explain how the Gita and Mahabharata are related. We have a little visitor here. This is Binti. Hey, yes, you want to be part of the reading. So, before I begin, just a quick prayer. All my readings are devoted to Lord Shiva, and it is my sacred intention that the reading find the seeker, that the reading be filled with purity, love, and everything that emanates from it. And may the reading light the way for you on your path and bring many, many blessings. Welcome to the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. For my Guru, I'm continuing from last time, so we opened the space as well as we closed it. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Open the space, honor Mother Earth, Father Sky, Grandfather Sun, Grandmother Moon, the earth, wind, water, fire, ether, all elements, all elemental beings, all kings and kingdoms, all shamans, all teachers, all keepers of the sacred land and life on it. I honor, acknowledge, and pay my respects to Mother Earth, Father Sky, Grandfather Sun, Grandmother Moon, the upper world, lower world, and middle world, all beings of unconditional love and light, the crystal kingdom, the animal kingdom, the mineral kingdom, kingdom of water, kingdom of air, all tribes and tribesmen, the ascended masters, all gods and goddesses, all aspects of my creation, conscious or not, seen or not, known and unknown, all tribes, all tribesmen, space and time, self, this moment in space and time. I wish to honor, acknowledge, and pay my respect to my sisters, my bloodlines, my parents, all those that are connected to me, and all those that are connected to you, as we are one. I wish to honor, acknowledge, and pay my respects to all forgotten parts of the system, anyone unacknowledged, Any being, light or not, wishing to be part of this reading is welcome in the sacred circle of life. I wish to honor and acknowledge and pay my respects to the sacred fire that bears witness to the words of the Bhagavad Gita. And Maya, the great illusion, my Guru, Lord Shiva, Lord Krishna, whose stories, whose glories we will sing together, and anyone else I may have missed. I honor any force that wishes to be present here. Anyone not based in love is still welcome, but must know the protections of Shiva are in place. And the great Mother Goddess, Mahatripura Sundari, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Saraswati, Lakshmi, Parvati, Kali, Durga, and anyone else. Welcome, welcome, So let's begin. The Gita and the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata is said to be the longest poem in the world. In its original form, it consisted of 24,000 verses, and it grew to about 100,000. Like the Old Testament, it is not homogeneous work, but a collection of narratives. Its central theme, as the name indicates, is the story of the descendants of King Bharat. Maha means great, and of ancient India, the land where the Bharatas lived and ruled. After the death of King Pandu, the Mahabharata tells us, his brother Dhritarashtra succeeded to the throne. Dhritarashtra educated the 5 sons of Pandu, also known as the Pandavas, along with his own 100 sons. As they grew to be men, the Pandavas distinguished themselves by their piety and heroic virtues. In consequence, Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra's eldest son, became jealous and planned to murder them. Duryodhana's scheme was to build a palace in a distant town and invite the Pandavas to stay there during a religious festival. Now, the palace was made of materials that could burn quite easily. So, it was planned that Duryodhana could then set the palace on fire. That was the intention. It burned to ashes. But Pandavas and Kunti, the mother, had been warned in time, and therefore they escaped. Duryodhana now believed them to be dead. The Pandavas lived in the forest, disguised as Brahmins, meeting all kinds of dangers and adventures. One day, they heard that a neighboring king was to choose a husband for his daughter. So, the winner was required to bend a bow of enormous strength and hit a tiny target. The Pandavas thought they should try, and try they did. They went to the city in disguise. Suitors had gathered from all over India, Duryodhan amongst them. One after another, they failed in the test. At last, Arjuna, the third of the Pandavas, stood up, bent the bow, and hit the target with the greatest ease and grace. Draupadi, the princess, threw him the victor's garland. And that was customary at that time. We hear about it in different stories. And it's the same sort of process we see in the Ramayana as well. So those who want to learn more about the Ramayana, there are videos on my channel. So please go check it out. But the assembled princes could not accept this humiliation at the hands of a seemingly poor and unwarlike Brahmin. There would have been a fight, just as in the story of Ulysses, if Krishna, who was present, had not intervened and persuaded them that Arjuna had a right to his bride. Krishna was a cousin of the Pandavas, but he was not one of Dhritarashtra's sons. The brothers took Draupadi back to the forest where Kunti was awaiting them. Mother, they cried in excitement, we have brought home a wonderful treasure. Be sure to share it equally, my children, Kunti answered. And then she saw the girl and exclaimed in dismay, oh, what have I said? But it was too late. Her word was sacred to her son. So, Draupadi married all the brothers. Dhritarashtra and his son now knew that the Pandavas were not only alive, but allied by marriage to a powerful monarch. Duryodhan was for carrying on the feud, but Dhritarashtra, his father, wisely listened to the advice of his uncle Bhishma, which was to send for the brothers and offer them half of the kingdom. So, the kingdom was indeed divided. The Pandavas got the worst of the land, wilderness, along with the river Jamuna. They cleared it, built a city, and crowned Yudhishthira the eldest brother of the Pandavas, as king. Now, the 5 brothers lived in triumph and splendor, and Duryodhana hated them more than ever. His jealousy hatched a new plot for their ruin. The pious and noble Yudhishthira had a dangerous weakness for gambling. So, Duryodhana challenged him to play dice with a clever sharper named Shakuni. Now, Shakuni was the mama, the uncle. Knowing well that the king would feel bound in honor to accept. Strategic move. So they played, and Shakuni cheated. Yudhishthira lost game after game after game, staking his wealth, his kingdom, finally his brothers, Draupadi, and himself. All were now the slaves of Duryodhana's vengeance, subject to insult and cruelty, until Dhritarashtra intervened and insisted that they be set at liberty and the kingdom be honorably given back. But Duryodhana worked upon his father until he obtained permission for another dice match. So Duryodhana didn't give up. And jealousy can be a very dangerous thing. It eats you from within, makes you make irrational decisions. And we see that not only here, but in our daily lives as well. So like I said, there is so much wisdom in the story that can be applied in today's day and age. So take what you will for your own soul growth and evolution as we weave into an epic story that teaches us how to live a good life in harmony. The loser was to forfeit his kingdom and retire to the forest for a period of 12 years. Then he must live for a year in the city without being recognized. If he was discovered, the term of exile would begin again. So unreasonable was this demand, and it really gives us a glimpse of how right from wrong is meddled when one is infected with the seed of jealousy, anger, all that is not human, not right. That is ignorance and darkness in us. This game also Yudhishthira lost. So the Pandavas went back to the forest. They made a virtue of their misfortune, practicing spiritual austerity and doing many heroic deeds. Once, during their wanderings, we are told that the brothers suffered greatly from thirst. Nakul, the youngest, was sent to look for water. He found a lake which was clear as a gleaming crystal. As he bent over it, a voice said, "Stop! Stop, my child. First answer my questions, then you may drink." But Nakul, in his desperate thirst, paid no attention to the voice, and he drank anyway. And then, immediately fell dead. His brother Sahadev went out to look for him. He too found the lake, and the same thing happened. In this manner, 4 brothers of the 5 died. Last of all came Yudhishthir. He found the corpses and began to lament. He had just lost all his brothers. Then the voice told him, "Child, first answer my questions, and then I will cure your grief and your thirst." He turned and saw Dharma, the personification of duty and virtue, standing beside him in the form of a crane. So he answered the questions that were asked. So the crane asked, "What is the road to heaven?" "Truthfulness," came the reply. "How does a man find happiness?" "Through right conduct," he answered. "What must he subdue in order to escape grief?" "His mind," came the answer. When the man loved, when he is without vanity. Of all the world's wonders, which is the most wonderful? The queen asked. That no man, though he sees others dying all around him, believes that he himself will die. And finally, how does one reach true religion? He said, not by argument, not by scriptures and doctrines. They cannot help. The path to religion is trodden by the saints. Dharma the crane was satisfied with this. He revealed himself to Yudhishthir, and then he brought the 4 brothers back to life. When the period of exile was over at last, Yudhishthir asked for the return of his kingdom, but Duryodhan refused. Yudhishthir said he would be content with just 1 village for himself and 1 each for his brothers. So he wasn't asking for too much, being more than reasonable, if you like. But Duryodhan, in the insanity, total insanity of his greed, would not agree to even this reasonable demand. The older members of the family tried to arbitrate, but failed. So war thus became inevitable. Neighboring kings were drawn into the quarrel until the whole of India was involved. Both sides wanted Krishna's aid. To both, Krishna offered the same choice. Either you can have the help of my kinsmen, the Vrishnis, in the battle, he told them, or you can have me alone. But I shall take no part in the fighting, he clarified. So, Duryodhan chose the Vrishnis. Arjuna preferred to take Krishna himself. as his personal charioteer. The battle was fought on the plain of Kurukshetra, a sacred place of pilgrimage. It was here, just before the armies engaged, that Krishna and Arjuna had the conversation which is recorded in the Bhagavad Gita. So these 18 chapters are the conversations happening, the dialogue, if you like, which we, when we get into chapter 1, will be poetry and a combination of a dialogue between. The battle lasted 18 days and ended with the death of Duryodhana and the complete and utter victory of the Pandavas. Thereafter, Yudhishthira became the undisputed ruler of India. He reigned for 36 years. The story ends with the pilgrimage of Draupadi and Pandavas up the heights of the Himalayas to the abode of God. On the way, the queen and 4 of the brothers died. They were not sufficiently pure to be able to enter heaven in their human bodies. Only Yudhishthira, the royal saint, journeyed on, accompanied by his faithful dog. When they reached heaven, Indra, the king of gods, told him that the dog would not come in now. But Yudhishthira replied that if this would be so, he would stay outside heaven too, for he could not bring himself to desert any creature that trusted him and wished for his protection. So he did the right thing. Definitely. He knew in his heart. No life is more important than the other. We are all part of the sacred circle of life. And we learn that. We learn that. Finally, after a long argument, both dog and king were admitted into heaven. Then the dog was revealed as Dharma himself. And we've spoken of Dharma a little earlier as the crane. This had been another test of Yudhishthira's spiritual greatness. One more was to follow. When the king looked around him, he found that heaven was filled with his mortal enemies. Where, he asked, are my brothers and his comrades? Indra conducted him to a gloomy and horrible region, the pit of hell itself. So, Yudhishthira, the man that he was, righteous, said, I prefer to stay here. For the place where they are is heaven for me. Home is where the heart is it not? At this, the blackness and horror vanished. Yudhishthira and the Pandavas passed beyond the appearance of hell and heaven into the true being of God, which is immortality. The Bhagavad Gita, meaning literally the song of God, is not regarded by Hindus as Shruti, or scriptural teaching actually revealed by God to man in the Upanishads, but only as Smriti, the teaching of divine incarnations saints or prophets who explain and elaborate God-given truths of the scriptures. Nevertheless, it is the most popular book in the Hindu religious literature, the Gospel, one may say, of India. It has profoundly influenced spiritual, cultural, and intellectual life of the country throughout the centuries and continues to do so even today. It is very, very pertinent in today's context, if you like. In the Gita dialogue, there are 4 speakers: King Dhritarashtra, Sanjaya, Arjuna, and Lord Krishna. Dhritarashtra is blind. The sage Vyasa, who is traditionally supposed to be the author of the Gita, offers to restore his sight in order that he may watch the battle of Kurukshetra. But Dhritarashtra refuses. He cannot bear to see his kinsmen killed. So, a very learned sage, confers the psychic powers of clairvoyance and clairaudience upon Sanjaya, who is Dhritarashtra's minister and charioteer. As they sit together in the palace, Sanjaya describes to his master everything he sees and hears on the distant battlefield. Through his mouth, the words of Krishna and Arjuna are mediumistically reported. Occasionally, he pauses in his report to add descriptive remarks of his own. The Gita is not primarily concerned with Krishna as an individual, but with his aspect as Brahman, the ultimate reality. When Krishna addresses Arjuna, he sometimes speaks as an individual, but often as God himself. For I am Brahman, within this body, life immortal, that shall not perish. I am the truth and the joy. Arjuna, in his attitude to Krishna, also expresses this dual relationship. Krishna is the divine incarnation of Lord Vishnu, Arjuna's chosen deity. Arjuna knows this at some level, yet by a merciful ignorance he sometimes forgets. The way of illusion. Indeed, it is Krishna who could make him forget, since no ordinary man could bear the strain of constant companionship with God. After the vision of Krishna's divine aspect, which we will learn about as we progress, which is recorded in chapter 11, Arjuna is appalled by the realization that he has been treating the Lord of the universe as a friend and a fellow mortal. He humbly begs Krishna's pardon, but his awe soon leaves him. Again, he has forgotten. We may infer the same relationship between Jesus and his disciples after the vision of the Transfiguration. King Dhritarashtra speaks but once. In fact, The whole narrative of the Gita is Sanjaya's answer to his single opening question. Right? So that, the initiate, concludes a full introduction, context, and just a little bit of setting the stage. So I will now close the space and send everyone back. And next time we will begin with the first chapter of the Song of Arjuna, where it all begins. I now respectfully ask all those who attended today's reading to go back in peace to their systems, to their families, with love and honor. No one is permitted to stay as protections of Shiva are in place. May you be blessed infinitely. May the wisdom of the Gita touch you in every possible way and help you see the light that you always were. I send you with blessings and love and thank you for your presence in this point in space and time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. धर्म की जय हो, अधर्म का नाश हो, प्राणियों में सद्भावना हो, विश्व का कल्याण हो. May truth prevail. May ignorance and darkness be destroyed. May all beings live in harmony. And may the earth be blessed. May you be blessed. Jai Shri Ram. See you next time. And Jai Shri Ram from Rocky, who was there when we opened the space. See you next time. Lots of love.